All right, and welcome. You are watching the Vinny Show. I'm here tonight with my guest, Geri Petito, the Jersey Jewel herself. Geri, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Vinny. Thanks for having me. This is so cool.
Absolutely, and I got to say, your backdrop is a lot cooler than mine.
But I like your other backdrop with the lights and the bill. I love that. Come on, New York. I love it. It's
Yep,
amazing.
absolutely. So, Geri, thanks for joining us. Like I said, and we want to jump into everything that you're up to. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so hey guys, and this guy's so cool, Vinny Minetti. I mean, come on. Love it. So I wrote a book in 2016. I'm going to start with that because that's what got me into radio. So I wrote a book. I'm not an addict. I'm just an ass. I'd rather be a smart ass than a dumbass. 32 years ago, I was a dumbass. And July 27th, I just celebrated 32 years. And I'm going to use the term renewed life. Okay. Thank you.
That's a huge thing.
It's huge, right? So in 2016, I was approached by Hamilton Radio. Doc G, the owner, said, we want to interview you. So DJ Danny, his daughter, interviewed me. And then he said, Jared, you have a great radio voice. He's like, why don't you come along? At first, Vin, I said, nah, I don't think this is for me. I'm an artist. I owned a poker league. I'm also a poker dealer, right? I said, I don't know if this is for me. I'm also a vegan chef. I've got a lot of things. I'm a nutritional health coach. I'm a recovery coach. So I wasn't really thinking that. So he was bothering me for about a month. And then I started laughing. I said, what am I, stupid here? I think I'm a dumbass now. I was in trouble, Vinny, every day of my life for talking in school. I had every report card. She's awesome, but she talks too much. Okay. They used to put me out on the hallway. You know, that we used to have that desk and chair. I don't know if you're young, but it was
I remember. I had one too.
They had one outside every classroom for the bad kid. I wasn't a bad kid. They loved me. All the teachers did. I was just a smart ass. And they would put me out there every class. And I'd be screaming hello to the people walking into the bathrooms. So they were like, get in here, Jer. So after that, I said, this is maybe what I've got to do. So that's what I did. And I was picked up. I was on at 1.5 networks plus my own podcast. And I was like, this definitely is where I'm supposed to be. And, Vin, my goal in the beginning was to talk about addiction, recovery, and health, because I cured myself of 2 cancers over 25 years ago.
Wow.
Naturally. I brought in a home colonic system. I fasted for 60 days on nothing but water. I'm certified in fasting now. So I would have been gone. I was about 100 pounds, guys. I was very sick. So if anyone wants help, everything's free. Okay. If you're really sick, I will help you for free. Reach out.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
No, but really. So anyway, when that happened, I said, I gotta give back and I gotta start helping people. So, but then in 2016, I wrote a book and I didn't know why I was writing this book. I know this is going to sound weird, but I actually heard a voice in the middle of the night say, write your book. And I laughed and said, okay, I'll write my book. Okay. So I hand wrote it, Vin, because I'm not great with the computer. 3 weeks later, the book was done. So I called a friend of mine whose uncle's gone now, but he was a publisher. I said, you got to help me. I don't know how to get this in the computer because I had some poems published way back in the day. We would send them, mail them. Okay. So I'm not great at technology. So she came, she did the book for me. And this is what she said, Geri, we're going to send it to a ton of publishers. They may like it. They may not. It might take years. I said, no. I said, God wrote the book. I'm going to give him the credit. I said, we're going to send it to Simon & Schuster. She laughed and said, okay. I said, now put your name attached to mine with the phone number. 5 days later, we get a call from this woman. She's no longer with them, but she worked for them and she loved my book and they published it immediately.
Wow.
I didn't know this, but there was a reason for me writing this book. 2 family members that almost died and needed my help. And they claimed my book saved their life and I got them help.
Wow.
So I didn't know. So I said, you know what, with the radio, that was where I was really going with all the shows and local authors and anyone local I really loved and wanted to get them noticed. And then the pandemic hit. And I said, all right, I think I want to revise this because I found out some things, and I'll share with you about addiction that I didn't know for sure until I read it. And then I said, I'll revise this in 2020. And so I didn't touch my first book. I left it the way it was. It was small. And I write a poem after every chapter because I'm also a poet. And I said at the end of my book, I said, this page forward is the revised edition because I didn't want to touch that, so I didn't want to do book 2. I wanted it to all be together. So anyway, when that happened, a lot of entertainers started reaching out to me, legends, because they were home, they were bored, they were on lockdown, they're getting older. I mean, I've interviewed legend after legend, Larry Chance from the Earls, Mel Carter. I mean, the list is endless. The list is endless, and I thank God for that. So some good did come out of that. You know what I mean? So my road on radio is huge now with entertainers, but I will always continue to do recovery, health, all that, and all local people needing help. I will give everyone the platform. I don't care who they are. If they need a platform, they've got it. Just like what you're doing, it's amazing. And believe me, it'll come back to you tenfold then.
Thank you.
So I want to share something important. Can I read a poem out of my book?
Please. Absolutely.
All right. Then I want to share why I revised it. You might be a little shocked as well. Okay.
Okay, great.
So this is the last chapter in my first part of the book when I first got it published. And this poem is called Change Your Choice. Okay. I had a life-changing moment that I knew had to be. The only way to change things was to first start with me. So I looked in the mirror and woke up one day and thought to myself I needed to pray. So I asked God to change me, to help me stay strong, to clean up my mess, to right what's been wrong. I cleaned up my diet. I cleaned up my room. I cleaned up all habits with this old dirty broom. I kept going forward and never looked back. I refused to derail, stayed on the right track. I realized my worth and all that did matter through my selfish behavior, the lives I had shattered. So I finally decided at 30 years old to stop abusing my body, my mind, heart, and soul. My life-changing choice that I had once made, guys, 32 years now, my debt has been paid. So you read all my thoughts on how to stay clean. It's all or nothing, my friend. There's no in between. To live or to die is a choice you must make. Your life is not worthless, and you're not a mistake. One day at a time is a slogan you've heard. It works if you work it while applying his word. For you to get healthy, for your mind not to fail, escaping reality will keep you in jail. With addictive behaviors, sex, drugs, food, or money, substituting addictions. Now, isn't that funny? I'm not an addict. This too shall pass. I'm not an addict. I'm just But today, I'm a smart ass, Vin.
That is beautiful, Jerry. Beautiful. Really nice. That's amazing.
But please understand, you are not powerless, and it is not a disease forever. The one thing that is keeping you powerless also is not just your thoughts believing it, but sugar. Real sugar should never be put into our bodies. It's now high fructose corn syrup. And once you take that in, your brain thinks you're taking in heroin. It can't tell the difference. So that is why 100% of the addicts are addicted to sugar.
Even us as adults, to eat well and to stay away from this, and you're working and you're running to the local convenience store, and you're like, what am I going to grab? And so you're forced to grab, junk.
Well, I'm a vegan, and my grandson was a vegan till he was 12. Then he made his own decisions, and my granddaughter's still a vegan. And I can tell you that it's tough, especially as we're getting older, but you're still young. It's tough, but there's an easier way if you ever want me to help you, guide you and your wife on how to do these meals.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and that's it with that.
Yeah, we're all poisoned.
I know, it's crazy. So then
let's get back. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let's get back to talking about now this book. Obviously, it sounds to me divine intervention. You're called to do this thing.
Yeah.
You're one of the very few circumstances out there or cases that were able to just turn it all around and make an amazing impact, not just for your own life, but your family and other people.
Right. I know. So this is why I believe this happened to me. So I'm a very strong-willed person. I am more of the all or nothing kind of person. So, like when I got sick, I had breast cancer and colon cancer, and like I said, I was very thin and sick. I knew I could die. Breast cancer and colon cancer was prevalent in my mother's family. They all died. My mother died at 69 of heart disease. I mean, they were just all very unhealthy. My father's family, super healthy. My nonna lived to 100. You know, my aunt's now 95. So anyway, I knew I had to make some drastic changes. So for me, when I made the decision, I went to Princeton House. I stayed there at the time. I think it was 32 days we could stay there. When I came out for 1 month, Vin, I did what they told me I had to do: get a sponsor and go to meetings. Well, I'm too strong of a person. I'm not going to stand up there. I just worked my butt off for 32 days with counseling, staying clean, right? Blah, blah. I'm not an addict now. I'm not. So I wasn't okay with standing up there. Hi, I'm Geri. I'm an addict and I'm powerless over my disease. No, that disease I caused. I caused it. Okay. So at first it does seem like, oh my gosh, this is a mountain I can't climb. Sure, you can climb it. Sure, you can climb it. Okay. You just have to put your mind to it and put the work in. And I promise you, you can climb it and it's worth it. And it's the same with like when I was sick with the nutrition, with the food. I immediately turned vegan instantly overnight. It was not even an issue. I had to do it. Food was going to be my medicine now. Sugar is the number one thing you got to get rid of. Once you can do that, you can do anything.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much sugar is taking such a major role in our lives because, you know, we talked about this earlier. My parents are from Italy. You said, I believe you said your father was.
Yeah.
They didn't grow up on this junk. They did not grow up on it. And,
No.
and okay, I did. You did, I guess, you know, in a form
Yeah,
of like
sure.
cereal.
Sure,
Oh
we
God.
did.
I mean, the candy and snacks that we
Sure we
had in
did.
grade school. God, you know.
But back then, Vin, it was sugar. Okay, the last, say, 20 years or so, maybe 25, because of my research with all the nutrition, it's all high fructose corn syrup now on purpose to make us addicted.
So it's you know, it's I swear to God that I said this years ago, and I don't know where I got it from. If it just popped in my head one day, I'm like, I see little kids eating all this candy. I'm like, this is like the beginning of addiction.
Yes.
Maybe it's a stretch of the imagination, but to me, it seems
Mm-mm.
like the beginning
You're
of
right.
addiction.
You're right. You're right. 100%.
Sad.
Yep.
Well, look, Jared, that's an important thing I think everybody's missing.
It is.
Really. I mean, it's you think, well, it's not good for them, but it really is not good for them.
No, it's really not good for them. But it's easier, and this is sad. It's easier for even parents to be like, all right, it's just one cookie for now. Shut them up. They'll go watch TV. And that's what's sad too. So now, now I'll tell you a little bit about my radio shows because this has been also amazing.
Yes.
So when I started with Hamilton Radio, again, like these 5 networks picked me up. One was PANJ Radio. Okay. And he's now out of the country. Okay. Amazing. He now lives out of the country, but it was great being on PANJ Radio, and like over the bridge here in PA.
Nice.
Yeah. Rob Bell. It was so cool. And Vinny, I loved it. And then RTR, Remember Then Radio. And that's where I did a lot of the oldies, you know, the guys and all the legends. It was really cool. And then Beverly Nation and then Damon Looks. And now we are just the umbrella WBNN of both of them. And then, of course, my podcast. So I received a call out of Germany. I have all my awards up here. A few years ago, I was inducted into the Internet International Hall of Fame for radio show hosts.
Congratulations.
And now I received last year Lifetime Achiever. And I believe this is what I believe, that I started with Hamilton Radio and I'm going to end with Hamilton Radio. Okay. But because of Hamilton Radio, WBNN noticed me. And I believe, because they're all over the world now. I mean, we broke a record with like 23 million listeners. It's out of Lagos, Nigeria. So I believe they got me noticed for that. So I'm so blessed on so many levels. And God will continue to use me because I'm allowing him to. You know, we've got to say, what are we here for? What are we doing, right? So my thing is to help people with addiction, with health, for new entertainers, you know, anyone that wants to get noticed. I'm in 100%. I'm in.
That's a beautiful thing, and I do believe God is using you for all the right reasons, and that you're being a very good participant in this whole thing. So, I mean, God bless you, Joe.
Thank you, Vin. I mean, we have to do what we have to do for people. You know, even me and you. I mean, this is amazing. I love what we're doing here today. You know, and I can't wait for our interview, you know? So it's just awesome. So thank you for reaching out to me. Oh, John Terlizzi, let's give him a shout out, man. Hey,
John
we love
Terlizzi,
you,
you're the best.
John. Listen, I laugh and I say, because he messages me and he says, "Did Vinny mention me?" I said, "Of course." He said, "You're his stalker too, not just mine." We were laughing. He's my favorite stalker. Okay. And I got to
Yeah,
meet and hug him finally.
I love it. He was so very generous with, giving me a bunch of contacts to reach out to, and I'm just, of course, my crazy life. There's a million things going on, so I try to respond as quickly as I can. But this was like a bullseye with you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell us about some struggles now.
No. And you know what's funny? I'm going to share something with you. When I revised my book, or no, when I wrote my book in 2016, I still have my folders right here on my bookshelf from Princeton House. I will never get rid of any of that. And for the first time in forever, I opened it up when I was writing my book, and I cried reading the letters I had to write to myself. Okay, to anyone that hurt me. I didn't have to give them the letters, but I had to write them. And I cried and said, "How was that me? How was that me?" And I went through so much counseling. I was in counseling probably for 20 years. All the counselors are now my friends. And we laugh. We play cards together. Okay, me and Mackie, we play cards together. My counselor friends will call me and say, "Jared, give me advice on this." And we laugh. So what I want to say about that is this, Finn. It's go to counseling, people, please. I'm begging you. So much
That's what
love.
I tell everybody too. I try to, and we all go through a certain degree of stress, some more, some less. Like I like to say, my mom always said, we all have crosses to carry.
Yeah.
And, but I try to remind people, what could be worse. I don't like to think, oh, it could always be better. It could always be worse.
Always be worse.
And now, recently, honestly, now in my 40s, like I'm starting to realize that it's not about how much money you have or what you have or possessions. It's, to me, I'm learning that it's more about the experiences that you're having, the family, the memories you're making. That's really all we have, because we're borrowing everything else.
You're right, Vin. And you know what? I'm glad that you're young to me, so I'm glad it's happening already for you. That's beautiful, because you're right.
Yeah, and I think that we're just, we're again, we said this off screen, but people are so, the influence of TV and internet and all the things, the duality of it can be very beneficial. Like I think, well, hopefully we're we're giving a good benefit to people by what we're saying, and they can learn a lot of things. But then there's also the duality, which is the bad stuff.
That's right.
And so there's so many bad influences, and unfortunately, people, children, adults, people are influenced.
You're right.
And that's what I think is the biggest, scariest thing, having kids. And because you're there, you've been there, and you have grandkids. Like, I'm so scared for them. But
yep,
life goes on, and I think that people are getting more educated now, and there's more. If you could just put the blinders on to the poison and just follow the true path,
I agree. Every time someone complains. Like I had a friend that said something on Facebook many years ago. "I knew when I woke up today was going to be the worst day of my life. I was on 95 and a car missed me by like this much, an inch." And I laughed and I go, no. See, I see it as you had the best day of your life. That car missed you by an inch.
Yeah.
Like I don't see, I'm sorry anymore. Everything I see positive, and like if you were late, okay, to me, there's a reason why you were late. Maybe you would have had a car accident. Like I see these things differently.
I swear to God, we must have I'm telling you, it's crazy, because that must be an Italian thing, because that's exactly the stuff that I say too. I mean, even to my wife, I'm like, I used to rag on her for being late about things. And it's like, okay, well, maybe we missed something bad that could have happened, or whatever. You never know. Everything is meant for a reason.
Everything is. So that's how I feel about it all.
Now, so Jared, let's talk about maybe some famous people that you were able to talk to or interview
Okay.
or just even to meet.
Okay.
And you mentioned Donnie Most, right? So you told me
Oh,
about
Donnie
Donnie Most.
Most. I got to meet him, hug him. I interviewed him. I'm going to be interviewing him again on another network. I love him, love him. So, all right. You're young, but do you know who Don Cade Reed was? Cousin Brucey, the Geeter,
Well, that
Terry
sounds very.
Dravitt.
I know the Geeter from the Geeter. We all God rest his soul. We know the Geeter
Okay.
with the heater from
Okay.
Philly.
So the three of them, okay, they all started together back in the day. They were our DJs in New York, really, the tri-state area, right?
Yeah.
I grew up with them. And I got to interview the Geeter and meet him before he passed away. I got to interview Don K. Reed, God rest their souls. And now, Cousin Brucey, I met him and he promised me, looked me in the eye, gave me his word and said, Jerry, you got the interview. I'm giving you my word. So
Oh,
that's going to be happening.
very
But my I'm not, all right, I don't want to say favorite. Scratch that. You'll always have those interviews where it takes your breath away. Let's just say that. I have been so honored. Okay. Ken Brady from the original Casinos, and he's a good friend of mine now. He's coming to New Jersey from Florida, him and his wife Wednesday. Okay. I love them. The song Then You Can Tell Me Goodbye. Okay. Larry Chance and the Earls. Okay. Mel Carter. I mean, Ron Dante. Oh, honey, sugar, sugar. Right. I mean, it's been endless and it's been amazing. But and Don K. Reed, I got to say, that one and the Geeter, they took my breath away. But these were the interviews that I'll never forget. Everyone and anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge Elvis fan. And I was only 16 when he died. My mom finally said I could go. And I have the ticket framed in my Elvis poker room. I had an Elvis poker table made. I made 1,000 poker chips because I had a poker league.
nice.
So I never got to meet him. I never got to go to his concert. That broke my heart forever. So I was interviewed at Graceland by George Klein. I got to interview his nurse, Marion Cock, who is a good friend of mine now. Everyone keep her in prayer. She's 97 years old. She's amazing. She sent me her book. I love her.
And this is Elvis. This is Elvis.
Elvis Presley's nurse, Marion. Okay, she was with him 24/7 by his side. Yep, she became like family to him. And I got to interview Priscilla Presley's son a few months ago, Navarone. Them Guns is his group. The Guns of Navarone, that's where he got the name. Okay, and I got to interview a gentleman, people. Now, I hope you're all sitting down and wait till I'm done talking before you make your assumptions. A gentleman goes by the name of Elvis Aaron Presley Jr., and he's my age. So I'm 62. I think he might have just turned 63. Okay, so he's my age. And his mother was Angelique, and she was in a couple movies with Elvis. So anyway, this man, when I got the call from the promoter, she said, I know you're a huge Elvis fan. You came highly recommended from my good friend now, John Monforto, the man of many faces. He's incredible. And I'm going to share something about him first. He was given the title by an ex-mayor of Philadelphia as the official Philadelphia Rocky impersonator. Now he's got a spot he's doing on TV because of this. He's off the charts. He does The Godfather, but his Rocky, forget it. So he got in touch with her and wanted to surprise me. So I said to her, I don't know about this because I have too many connections with Graceland. I'm supposed to even meet Priscilla. Then COVID hit, I was like, I don't know. She says, do you want proof? I said, you have proof. She said, he was on Howard Stern. He was on National Enquirer already. I said, I know, I've seen him, but I didn't have the proof. I've known about him for years. So she sends me court documents, sends me his last will and testament. I get a letter from Graceland about it that they had to send her. He is who he says he is. Okay.
And so the guests understand this is actually the legitimate son
of
Elvis.
Elvis.
Well, I don't know about illegitimate, I guess.
Illegitimate, right.
The love son of
Elvis Presley. And check him out, guys. And when you see him, he's a 63-year-old Elvis. Sounds just like him. Check him out. So that was an incredible interview for me. that one, and again, Navarone and Elvis's nurse, and George Klein, I'll never forget because of who I am with Elvis. So I always say, God bless me, even if those were my only interviews, man. What are you kidding me? Right?
That is so amazing. We all were fans of Elvis growing up. We had the albums. My older brother, the guys in the neighborhood, they'd all skip together and sing his songs, and I remember being, maybe 7, 8, 9 years old and sitting there in front of the stereo and listening to his albums. And in fact, I remember years later, another person that grew up in our neighborhood was Mario Lanza. Mario Lanza grew up. He grew up about 2 blocks away from where I grew up in the Italian Market in South Philly. And so, some of the old timers used to, they were still, now they're gone, but they said, yeah, they remember him. He used to always, he was a great guy. He used to sing in the neighborhood when he was younger and the whole thing until he went to Hollywood. But the reason why I bring up Mario Lanza is because Elvis has said that one of his biggest influences was Mario Lanza.
Oh, amazing.
So it's kind
of
cool,
It's amazing, right?
Yeah. Yes. And Lanza's, again, another tragic young person with a great voice who died years before he should have.
Yeah. So you've heard all the rumors, I'm sure, about Elvis being alive.
Yes.
Okay. We've heard them forever, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, forever and ever. So all right. Bear with me, guys. I'm just looking for something that I have to write down here. Okay, before I get messed up here. All right. So anyway, I get a call from a country western singer who I've interviewed in the past, an older gentleman. And he says, Geri, I know what a huge Elvis fan you are, and I want to do something special for you. I got permission to give you someone's name and number. Elvis is alive, and I've even spoken to him, he says. So he gives me the name of this woman who put out all this stuff for years and years and years and years about Elvis being alive. And I spoke to her, and she told me to write him a letter. And I did, and I'm waiting for a response. I sent it to her, and she sent him his mail. So this gentleman goes by Jesse and has given her permission all these years to put out the stuff that he's alive so his fans would know.
Wow.
Okay. So do I believe it? I'm not sure. Anything's possible, right? I don't know. But if I ever get the opportunity to talk to him, I will let you know.
That would be like
okay,
the most amazing thing ever.
Okay. If I could get a chance to talk to this man, I will let you know.
Well, maybe you could. I mean, has nurse ever kind of alluded to anything like that?
Okay. So she's up in age now and she's still very good, but she forgets little tiny things. And my father died of Alzheimer's. So I said to myself, let me talk to her, maybe certain things. So if he was, I don't think she was one of them in on it. There were only a few because I called her up and I was like, oh, tell me again when you were in the emergency room with Elvis. She told me the same story. So that's the story she believes because it did happen with a body. And that's another, we could always talk off the air and I'll tell you everything.
Yeah. No, that's not. Yeah. I want
to yeah. But so I thought the same thing. Maybe she would,
Jared, I believe in like anything's possible anymore.
Anything's possible, right?
There's so much stuff that's coming out that I'm like, how, organized crime ruled the South, and a lot of those things were tied into a lot of that crap. And
that's right.
There's so much stuff. That's
right. Okay.
Like with a Kennedy, there's so much stuff. I'm like, my mind is totally wide open anymore.
Okay, so is mine. We grow up thinking one way, and then the next thing you know, right? Yep. We're told something different. Okay, and now you hear all the stuff because back then we didn't have all the social media. Today we do.
Well, we don't. You don't have much information except for
right. So. That's right.
Well, Jared, listen, I don't want to keep you all night, even though I could talk to you for another 3 hours. But maybe we could do a part 2 sometime. I don't know. You got to go through John, though. John's the main man now.
Oh, my God. See, John, you took the title, baby. Yes, he is. John's the main man.
Now, but I have to admit that it's very sweet of him to.
He's my favorite talker.
Yeah, I mean, it's very sweet. You don't find many people that want to connect and help people. So that's very nice.
He's
I
awesome.
appreciate that.
We love you, John.
We love you, John. Thank you. Jerry, listen, I think that you're a beautiful person inside and out. You got a lot of great um, stories. You've been there, done that, and very inspirational. I think that the guests will really, really get a lot out of this interview. This has been really awesome.
Thank you. And I feel the same about you. And, you know, to me, you're young. You know, you're a man, of course. You know, you're a young man. For you to do what you're doing is also incredible. So thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. And yes, please make sure on the bottom of the description you're going to find her links to everything. Make sure you follow her, spread the word about her, share this, and be a fan of hers, please, because I am. And I'm so glad I found you again. Thanks to John. And please support Jerry. I mean that seriously and wholeheartedly. And as you said too, reach out to her with anything you have.
Please, please, please. Okay.
All right. Well, listen, guys. I guess that's all the time we have, Jerry. You've been amazing, to put it lightly.
Thank you. You too.
And again, everyone, if you haven't already, please subscribe. And most importantly, subscribe and follow Jerry and everything that she's doing. She's a wonderful woman. I can't say enough. Thank you so much, Jerry. Everybody, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.